Welcome back. Coming up on 6:30 this morning, we continue with developing news. Right now, 78-year-old Samuel McDowell Little is sitting in the Ector County Jail. He was brought here after confessing to a cold case murder. He admitted to killing Denise brothers in Odessa 24 years ago. But even more shocking, they say he confessed to at least 90 murders across the U.S. Now, Little was questioned about the Odessa murder, but it wasn't until this summer that investigators say he fessed up. A 24-year-old case turned cold for one mother who went missing in Odessa for nearly a month. For decades, questions lingered in the air of when justice will be served for 38-year-old Denise brothers. Near the 2700 block of Van Street in Odessa, that's where brothers' body was found back in 1994, just behind an old abandoned building and half clothed. But then, Samuel McDowell Little would later confess to brothers' murder more than 20 years later. According to reports, Little's signature way of killing his victims was to lure them in with promises of whatever it was their victims wanted, and then strangle them. But Brothers is only one of the many victims who fell into his trap. So how did Little get caught in such a big investigation? We start back in September 2012. He was arrested in Louisville, Kentucky for having a crack pipe. DNA was lifted from that pipe and then later matched with DNA from cold cases. In 2014, he was convicted of 3 murders out of LA. At this point, authorities in several states started looking into him as a suspect in other cases. Little was eventually moved from California to Wise County, Texas, where he was a suspect in a murder from the 1980s. Although authorities say he was cooperative, he detailed other murders but was not ever linked to the murders in Wise County. This past July, Little was indicted for brothers' murder. Transferring back into Ector County is where he now sits behind bars, ready to pay for the lives he took.
Justice can be delayed, but it doesn't mean that it necessarily has to be denied. And in this case, there are people all over this country that haven't had answers, haven't had justice, but now they will.
As we mentioned, the crimes Little is connected to doesn't stop right here in the Permian Basin. In fact, it spans right across the country. Now, here's a look at some of the states. Authorities are investigating Little as a suspect in unsolved cases, and that includes 14 states. Now, what we do know so far is that Little is linked to 90 cases in several states. In 1982, he was arrested for murders in Florida and Mississippi. He was acquitted of the charge in Florida and no charges filed in Mississippi. Little has already been convicted of 3 murders in the Los Angeles area, for which he is serving a life sentence concurrently. Authorities have confirmed his link to 30 of those cases after he gave detailed information about the crimes to them. If he is convicted of all the murders, he will be considered one of the United States' most prolific serial killers. Now, while a lot of the details are coming together, there are still many unanswered questions. As of right now, we don't know when Little will go to trial. Authorities currently know about 90 murders, but beyond that, who knows how many more there could be and how many of those are being investigated. Now, as we said, Little is already serving a life sentence for those 3 murders in California. If convicted in Odessa, it is unclear how many years would be added to his sentence or if he is eligible for the death penalty.